All right, for those of you who tuned into yesterday's minisode, we left you with a teaser that we know you've got to hear the end to.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about how we saved our family business from the pandemic using really creative ways. We've had some really cool access to some really cool people, and we want to share it with you.
We have an amazing interview series of some of the interviews we've done with celebrities like Dr. Deborah Tillman, America's Super Nanny, Dr. Joseph McClendon III, famous neuropsychologist, former professor of UCLA. We've got Dr. Bruce Lipton, author of Beyond Belief, and we even have John Maxwell, the #1 leadership expert.
Your sisters want to bring you into the room with our most exclusive access. So go to kandshy.com. Right there on the homepage, you will see a button that says Get My Celebrity Interview Series, and we would love to share our access with you.
KAYANDSHI.com. We'll see you over there.
You're enjoying this episode on Angel Phoenix Productions Podcast Network. To explore a complete lineup of quality programs and media production services, head on over to angelphoenix.com or like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Angel Phoenix Productions.
All right, today we want to dive into the second part of that story we started yesterday. In case you did not catch yesterday's minisode, we talked about the overwhelm we experienced when our businesses suffered from an 85% loss of revenue overnight when the pandemic hit, and all of the action that we had to take in order to not only overcome that overwhelm, but to also save our family business. Now, a lot of action was taken, but one action in particular was the thing that saved the family business.
So we're throwing all the spaghetti at the wall. We're throwing these little punches in the ring. We're trying to figure out what's going to knock them out. And we put a line in an email that says, would you like to sponsor a meal for a local hospital worker? And through our restaurant for $10, you can give us $10. We will keep our people employed and up and running. And you can serve a hot meal to a hospital worker going overtime in our community during this pandemic.
So what's really cool is we send out this email and we get a fair amount of response from it. When a fair amount, like we raised a few $100s. So like 30 meals was raised. And we're like, ooh, people are kind of into that. That's really cool.
It was more than we sold in gift cards.
It certainly was. And that same weekend, we also, another action we had taken was asked one of our mentors if he would have a business call, a business ideation call with us. And so we're on the call with him and he's asking us, what action have you taken? And here's what he's noticing. And he's kind of, being this thinking partner for us. And we tell him about the email and we tell him we got a little bit of traction with this, the hospital workers meals. And he says, that is so amazing. I want to donate $1,000. I want to buy 100 meals. But here's what I want to do, girls. I want you to find a way for us to match that. So I'm going to put up $1,000 and I want you to go see if you can raise $1,000. We'll use my $1,000 to match that and it'll be $2,000. So what do you think? Well, that got our wheels turning and we said, well, what kind of scenarios include that? Telethons. What if we did like an L-a-thon, but on Facebook, and we did a Facebook Live-a-thon where we raised hot meals for hospital workers?
Oh, it was a Facebook Live-a-thon indeed. It was the final day of March in 2020. At this point, we'd had about 2 weeks of being shut down. People were starting to wonder, 2 weeks to curb, to flatten the curve. The curve was not flattened. The curve was growing. We knew it was going to be longer and people were starting to get antsy. And so we went to our network and we said, would you be willing to give us your videos, your talents, your time, your attention, and we will display them to the world on this live-a-thon where we raise money to feed hospital workers in our community and keep the people at our business employed while we work through the weeks of being shut down. And so this included almost 60 videos from folks in our network, everything from the Reno Philharmonic to the Great Reno Balloon Races. We had Elvis impersonators and musical acts, comedy sketches, dance routines, and the like. And we held a 4.5-hour Facebook Live-a-thon where we ultimately were able to raise $10,000, 1,000 meals, which carried us for 2 extremely critical payrolls to make sure we didn't have to do layoffs in our business.
Now, that strategy ended up working so well that we employed it again 2 more times during the year of 2020 and ultimately raised $40,000. Now, that's 4,000 hospital meals for our workers during a year where they needed that recognition, and the community wanted to give that recognition. And so being a vehicle for the community to show their appreciation whilst at the same time keeping our associates employed, whilst at the same time keeping our family business open was such an amazing win-win-win and such a fun story. We loved partnering we were one of the very few vendors to get to partner with the Veterans Hospital here in our town, and each location was partnered with a different hospital. Now, this is all super great, but what I love about this story is that we came from overwhelmed by the circumstances, and we just changed it to be overwhelmed by our own expectations of the response to those circumstances. A way more empowering overwhelm, because the night before the live-a-thon, we were up till 1 a.m. We were editing videos. We were doing last minute emails. We were putting together the back end of a credit card system that could take donations from around the world. Like the amount of logistics that went into that was, overwhelming, but it was a way more empowering overwhelm. And we're going to talk about how to reframe your overwhelm in the next minisode. So we hope you'll stay tuned tomorrow when we approach that subject.
This podcast was a production of Angel Phoenix Productions. Explore more episodes of this show or other great shows on the Angel Phoenix Podcast Network by visiting angelphoenix.com. The views expressed in this show do not necessarily represent those of Angel Phoenix Productions or its advertisers and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners.